Hey, how's it going? My name is Ashley Rose. As you know, you can call me Ash, like the Evil Dead. I'm here with Frankie Kazarian, also known as the King of TNA. Frankie, how are you doing? Or should I call you Kaz? What do you prefer?
What your preference, Frankie, Kaz, any of the above. But no, thank you for having me. I'm doing really, really good this morning.
Good. I'm glad to hear. I've been wanting to have you as a guest. I believe we might have done a presser together, like a press pass a while back. So this is exciting. You're clearly a TNA legend. You are the king of TNA. So first of all, let's of course go into the many different parts, the many different areas of TNA that you've been involved in. How does it feel to see the company thriving again? I mean, they've always thrived, but this is another level.
Yeah, it's really cool. Particularly for me being a kind of like a day one guy, being here from, you know, 2003, and through the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs, to see TNA where it is, healthy, successful, and thriving in the world of professional wrestling in 2025 is very cool, just to be a part of, and to see all the positivity and the love and the respect that it's getting, because that wasn't always the case. So it's really, really cool to be a part of it. And it's a great time to be a part of this company right now.
So, TNA faithful, they've been around. They've been called Impact faithful as well. And during that Impact time, what is it that you think that the fans completely resonate with when it comes to TNA? That they just have such a loyal following, they relate to everyone, and of course they just continue to watch.
Yeah, I think, the strength has always been with this company is our locker room. We've always had an incredibly hardworking locker room that always kind of worked with a bit of a chip on our shoulder, even dating back to the early days when you're talking about, like, in particular the X Division guys, the Low Keys, the Amazing Reds, the Jerry Lynn's, myself, Christopher Daniels, Chris Sabin, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, like, the Machine Guns. We're all just working hard to make our mark and to, kind of find our place in the business. And we're still, all these years later, our locker room is still, we always have something to prove. And I think that that resonates with the fans. And to your point, our fans have been very loyal. There's fans that have been there since day one that I recognize that used to come to the shows in Nashville back in the early 2000s. And there's people that have just discovered us in the last year, 6 months. And they're on board and they're enjoying this, this riding this incredibly hot wave with us.
Now, TNA's always been known for innovation, with the X Division as well. As far as, do you see anything as far as like coming up that's maybe more experimental? Do you think that there's anything new that'll be coming up with TNA?
I think, in terms of, like, I don't know necessarily in terms of like unique matches. Like, I think, pro wrestling has kind of, overall pushed that as far as it's going to go for now. There's some really, really innovative, cool matches. Ultimate X obviously is our claim to fame when it comes to that. But I do think the TNA is going to push things when we talk about, like, content that we're putting out, like, uh, for example, our immersed shows and stuff behind the scenes stuff, features on wrestlers, features on what's going on day of the show. We're really pushing out a lot of incredibly cool content, when it comes to that. And if people haven't seen the stuff, especially on the TNA Plus app, I encourage you to check it out. Our innovation is coming from our hardworking crew behind the scenes, really bringing the fans the stuff that they want to see that they don't normally get to see.
That being said, you can get the TNA Plus app if you look on the screen right here, somewhere in the corner. I'm going to put it there. I don't have exactly a specific area to tell you all, but you'll see it. Scan the QR code; it'll lead you directly to TNA Plus, and you can view all of TNA history as well as some of the PLEs if you, of course, subscribe annually. So that being said, Frankie, we are an alternative channel, which is why I wanted to have you here, and I've been wanting to have you here. I heard you were a Metallica fan. Besides Metallica, what other bands are you into? What else do you dig? What do you listen to, man?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, Metallica is my number one. And that's been the case for 35 years. My I was raised listening. My father was listening to the Rolling Stones and Frank Zappa and the Beatles, and so I was raised with that. And my mom was listening to Hank Williams Jr. and outlaw country stuff and Kenny Rogers, and so music was always a part of my life. Guns N' Roses was my gateway band into hard rock, into Metallica. Through Metallica, I discovered Thin Lizzy and Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and like just became a total metalhead. So, at my core, I'm a heavy metal guy, but I like rock and roll. Huge Tom Petty fan, huge Eagles fan, Creedence Clearwater. But we're talking about other metal. I love Pantera. I love Gojira, which is a newer band. Um, you know, Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, who's was Lemmy's ex guitarist, who does my entrance music. Uh, there's a little bit of everything I like, but I'm a rock and metal guy, and I always say, a good song's a good song, regardless of the genre. I used to very much be like, especially as a young, angry teenager, if it wasn't heavy metal, I didn't like it. But like I'm very much open-minded now, and a good song is a good song. If you look at my playlist on my phone, it's all over the board in terms of genre. And I've discovered a lot of cool music and different music over the last couple of years through my son, who's 12 years old. Stuff that I was like, wow, I kind of like this. So music's a huge part of my life. I love it. But at my core, I'm a heavy metal and hard rock guy.
It's influenced your style like throughout your whole career, I would say. You've always had that like heavy metal look. Even now, like I totally dig like the new gear. I love that it's very like 90s metal looking. And I love the new
Yeah, yeah. It's like my the tights I wear in the ring is 100%. It's Eddie Van Halen. That is my look and my presence. That's like when that's I want to give that vibe that I just walked off a stage. Very much so. It's the look, the fashion. I was always a huge fan of guys like Steven Tyler and Mick Jagger and Billy Idol. People that just these guys they look like stars. Like even if you have no idea who, say, a Billy Idol is, if you see him in an airport, you're like, that dude is something. That always appealed to me. Dating back to when I was just a young kid. Like, and I always stress to pro wrestlers, not everybody has to look the same, but look different, look like a star, look, have some type of uniqueness about you. So yeah, that I've taken a lot from rock and roll and from music and from heavy metal and used it for wrestling, just in terms of a cool lyric that I can use in a promo or like a look, something. It's like I'm very, very much influenced by rock and roll, heavy metal for everything I do.
You ever seen Billy Idol live?
So I have not seen Billy Idol live. He's actually playing out where I am very soon. I was on a flight with Billy Idol once, which was really cool because I felt like I was in the movie The Wedding Singer. Because if anyone who's seen that, that's which is a yeah, I was on a flight from New York to LA with Billy Idol. We're boarding, and he's right behind me, and I was like, holy shit, Billy Idol. And I'm not ever a guy that like I'm gonna as we say in the business, mark out for someone. But it was pretty damn cool to be on a flight with Billy Idol because he was again one of my heroes growing up.
I think it would be acceptable for Billy Idol if he did. I've seen Billy Idol live. Like, it was during the time he hadn't had a album for quite some time. It's when that song "Scream" came out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I remember
That's when
that.
I
Yeah.
saw Billy Idol, and I always encourage people if you get the opportunity to definitely go see him. It's
He's incredible. And you talk about an ageless wonder. The dude's still like he's still ripped. He looks great. He sounds awesome. He's incredible, man. He's like one of the like underrated acts in music, especially punk, hard rock. He's one of the best.
that we've discussed music. We'll go back to some TNA questions. We got TNA faithful questions. I always ask the community, "Hey, you got any questions for whoever?" So
Yeah.
Ray from Houston, Texas says thoughts on working with Super Dragon back in the day.
Oof, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Yeah, Super Dragon was people that know was a became like an independent wrestling sensation in the early 2000s, especially out in Southern California where I broke in and started. And he made his name very quickly and had a unique style, a very hard hitting, fast paced, unique style. And um, I always had good interactions with him. We only had a handful of singles matches. We worked together a lot in various tags, handful of singles matches, and I always had a good time. Our styles were very different, but I think they blended well. And and he was one of the guys that helped create PWG and the guy to like keep it going. So any fan of certainly of that style has to kind of be indebted to him for doing that. And, yeah, he got big really quickly in before like going viral was a thing. It was just word of mouth, and that's a credit to him for sure.
Sean Howie wants to know which TNA era elevated the company the best. I believe he wants to know, in your opinion.
Uh, yeah. I mean, it's the current roster in this era right now. Looking at just at our popularity and our success, an argument can be made that the current crop, but it's hard not to, and maybe I'm biased, but it's hard not to say that for those early pioneers of the X division and the early, even going back to like, the Jeff Jarrett and Raven days. And again, you can't argue with the Samoa Joe and the AJ Styles and the Bobby Roodes, like the mid 2000 eras where we first started in the Impact Zone and people really started to take notice of us. And even having guys like, Christian coming over and Kurt Angle certainly did wonders for this company and Team 3D and the Hardys. Those early TNA days and the roster that Jeff and Jerry Jarrett put together in the first few years, that really, I think, sustained us and carried us through into the early 2000s. And had that roster not been as strong as it was, I don't think TNA probably would have survived. But we survived on the strength of our roster and the loyalty of our fans and a lot of very hardworking people behind the scenes.
Javon wants to know, if you could go back in time, which former TNA World Champion would you like to face?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I mean, the easy answer is AJ Styles. It's because he is one of my very best friends and a guy I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and a guy who is and has been the very best for, decades. That's the easy answer. I mean, I could say another guy like I just mentioned, Kurt Angle, Christian Cage, Bobby Roode. There's a lot of great former TNA champions that I would love the opportunity to get in there just one more time.
And I'll just do one more, and that's Steve Lamborghini. I believe that's, hopefully I'm saying that right. Favorite moments from Universal Impact days.
Man, so many. The first ever 3 hour pay-per-view was there, and I was part of the gauntlet match, and that was very exciting. You look at the clips of me hitting the diamond cutter on Christopher Daniels hanging from the Ultimate X, and the crowd literally forms a mosh pit and goes crazy. And that's one of my favorites. I had an incredible match with Christian Cage in 2007 there. Worst wrestling for the world title against Kurt Angle. There's so many. That time is very special. Those years in Orlando, and some wild times in the ring and behind the scenes. Just my entire time, I really enjoyed going down to Universal and wrestling at the Impact Zone in front of those fans.
All right. Now that we got the faithful questions out of the way, what's the last concert you went to? Kaz, tell me.
Last concert I went to would have been, let's see, if, I guess I took my son to see one of his favorite bands. That's Imagine Dragons. Um, he's a big Imagine Dragons fan. I had no
Solid band.
clue yeah, I had no idea who, like I'd heard the name. I had no idea who they were, but he liked them. And so like I started listening to them a little bit and started following them a little bit. And they're actually a very, very talented band. And they have some great songs. Yeah, we took him to see them at the Hollywood Bowl last year, which that's a great venue. Um, God, I want to say I'm blanking on something. Before that, it was. I mean, uh, I went and saw Metallica when they were doing the no repeat weekends in Los Angeles. Um, God, I feel like I'm missing a big one, but I mean, that same summer I saw Ghost and Mastodon. which was awesome. I saw them in San Diego. But yeah, I think the last one might have been uh, the Imagine Dragons concert at Hollywood Bowl. And I love going to concerts. I don't, a lot of times I'm gone on the weekends when a band is local in my area. Oh, I went and saw Kiss too on their final tour, which is, was never a giant Kiss fan, but respected them enough and wanted to see them live before they hung it up. So I went and saw them, which was really cool. Yeah, I wish if I could, I'd go to concerts every weekend. I just, unfortunately, the schedule gets a little too busy.
That's actually how I found out you were a huge Metallica fan. It wasn't by like interview or anything. A friend of mine actually ran into you in a Metallica concert, and
Okay, yeah, that,
he was all, "Hey,
yeah,
I had talked to him on the phone. He was like, "Hey, I ran into Kaz. I ran into Frankie Kazarian at Metallica." He was apparently a huge Metallica fan.
yeah, that sounds about right. I do run into people that recognize me, and I've run into people multiple times at Metallica shows. Because I mean, anytime they're anywhere near, California, Arizona, Nevada, like I'll go. I've seen them over 20 times. So yeah, I have ran into people that that recognize me or know me from pro wrestling and see me. Yeah, it's cool. I love that because I love when I meet fans. Yeah, I'll talk wrestling, but if you want to talk music with me, I'll talk all day. That's another one of my loves.
Are you a vinyl collector? I know EY's a vinyl collector. I'm a fellow vinyl collector as well.
Yeah, so EY has an incredible collection. I've seen it. It's amazing. I tried to get back into vinyl a couple years ago and started a collection. It's very small still, nowhere near the level of EY's. I grew up on vinyl. I love the look, and I just love having physical music. And I got back into vinyl honestly so I could show my son, who was born in 2012, who has never known anything other than listening to music through a phone or your Bluetooth. I want to show him the physical, this is how you consume your music, you know, a physical piece of music. So I bought all my Metallica records on vinyl. Bought him a couple of Imagine Dragons records on vinyl so he could actually see that. Yeah, it's the collection is there. It's not, it's laughable at this point, especially compared to some of the pros. But I very much like vinyl, and I'm very mad that I got rid of all mine that I had as a kid.
Well, Kaz, before I let you go, we're gonna, you've become an icon in pro wrestling. So we're just gonna ask a general question. What kind of legacy do you hope fans remember you for?
That's tough. Like legacy, that's such a difficult thing to try to like navigate. Ultimately, I can only do my very best and have the greatest career that I could possibly leave. My legacy that's left for the fans. I would hope that my legacy is one of somebody that left the business in a better place than where he found it. A kid that came from a very small town that had big dreams and followed them through, and somebody who did more than he ever thought was possible, and somebody who proved that hard work pays off, and just you know a guy that loved professional wrestling and did it the very best he could and left everything in the ring every time he went out.
Do you have any final words before I let you go for Impact Faithful, TNA Faithful? I keep saying Impact Faithful. I was there
Yeah.
the time.
Well, you can be an Impact faithful because that's our TV show, and you can like be a TNA faithful too. It's cool. No, thank you for being on this ride with us. And again, we're not here without you guys. Your support truly does mean the world to us. There's no coincidence that we're rising in popularity because of you guys. You're helping us break attendance records. Uh, Stay on this ride with us. Trust me when I say it's only beginning. We haven't just scratched the surface of what we're going to do, and your support means the world to us.
All right. Well, thank you, Kaz, for joining me. Like I said, I've been wanting you on because, your look's been iconic throughout your career. It resonates with the alternative culture, the metal culture. So I'm completely honored to have you on. So thank you again.
It's so cool to hear. I appreciate that, and again, always happy to talk rock music, anything. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thanks again. And of course, make sure to tune into TNA and you can get the TNA Plus app. Just scan the QR code, or of course, click the link in the description. down there. You'll see it. All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Good night, wherever you